on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to Six Screens JW World News. Well, there's a lot happening. It looks like more layoffs are coming to Bethel. Oh, it's unbelievable. Pink slips are going out all over the place, from what we understand. Dumping the Bethelites. Also, my goodness, I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with the new magazines, but boy, the Watchtower is really getting very, very tricky. They do not want people to realize that they're in such big trouble, they're trying to hide it. I really believe some of the governing body may be going to prison. Well, we'll be talking about that story and many others tonight, right here on JW World News. Oh, my goodness. Well, hello, everyone. Well, welcome into Six Screens JW World News. Hey, we've been doing it for 16 years. We're not going to give up now. It's just amazing how many new ones have been coming in lately. And I'm glad to see that people have had enough. As I say, the monkey died, the circus is over. People are leaving the Watchtower big time. And it's not just me saying that. I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses. I'm saying it because I see other venues. Have you ever been on Reddit, for example? Do you see the amount of people that are coming in and posting on Reddit? Well, that's a forum online that ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come into, and their numbers are increasing exponentially. It's unbelievable. And our network here has been growing like crazy. All of the people doing YouTube videos. Have you seen the view clicks on some of these YouTube videos? It's amazing. And who's listening to these YouTube clips? It's people who are exiting the Watchtower and people that are already out. And they just want to realize, they just want to have it solidified. They want to be able to feel comfortable knowing that there's others out there that are leaving or have left. And didn't you want to do that too when you were leaving the Watchtower? Didn't you want to see that there was plenty of other people out there that had the same feelings? It just makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, hey, I didn't make a mistake. There's thousands of other people too that are leaving the Watchtower. Well, anyways, just to bring you up to speed, Rick Farron, that's my name. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I am so pleased that we have so many apostates up here. It really makes me feel good. I'm in good company. But, I want to let you know, a lot of people, when we first started doing the program, one of the things I thought about 17 years ago is I thought, well, a lot of people, they might not want to call our radio station up and talk because, well, you just heard some echoing there. That's my voice changer. Yes, so if you want to call into the program tonight and you don't want anyone to recognize your voice, say, Rick, put me on that voice changer, and we'll put you on the voice changer, and I can give you like an echo. I can have you talk like a woman if you're a man. I can have you talk like a man if you're a woman. Now, just listen to me. I'll give you a little sample of my voice changer. So listen in here. Hello, my name Rick Farron. See, a little echo. So we have about 20 different voices. So if you don't want anyone to recognize you, we'll put you on the voice changer. But anyways, we're glad you're with us tonight. Boy, I have to tell you, there's a lot going on behind the curtains. And the Watchtower is always trying to make it look like everything is just so perfect. Hey, you know that. I know you guys know it. If you've been in the Watchtower for any number of years, they claim there's nothing wrong with them. Everything is bad to the Watchtower organization. The only thing that's good to the Watchtower is them. Everything else is worldly. Everything else is not accepted by Jehovah. You can never do enough. You got to keep moving forward all the time. So anyways, they're back out again. We got another announcement by Atlantis. Well, he's our insider that shares information with a number of apostates, but he shares it with me too. And now they're talking about, the September vaccine announcement. Let me just get this up here so you can see it. I'm going to read it to you. I do have it here somewhere. Okay, I got it right here. So this is going to be read. This letter was given to the coordinating elders, the COBE, and they're to make this announcement to the congregations. Please ensure that the announcement regarding COVID-19 vaccination information is read to the congregation at the conclusion of the next two congregation meetings. So what is the letter about? Well, I have it right here. Let me tell you right now what they're trying to do. What they're doing here is a lot of the witnesses were concerned that some of these vaccines that they're giving to people might have had blood or blood fractions in them. And many witnesses, they were like, whoa, I don't know if I want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Because if you remember, some vaccinations in the past actually did contain blood products. So the witnesses are like paranoid when it comes to vaccinations. So anyways, the Watchtower wanted this letter read to the congregation this week. And what it is the different manufacturers of the vaccines and whether they contain blood or not. Now, AstraZeneca, well, they make it. You don't hear of them too often, but they're in Europe and they have a vaccine they're giving to Europeans mostly. And that AstraZeneca has no blood, no blood fractions. So the witnesses are happy, I'm sure, to see that. And then also there's another one here, Janssen Vaccines and Prevention Pharmaceuticals. I never heard of them. I really don't. I don't know. But there's no blood in them either. And also Moderna. No blood in Moderna. No blood in Pfizer. No blood in Novavax. And there's another one here, Belinba. I can't pronounce it. It's like in Latin. But there's no blood in that either. But anyways, I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that because some of the witnesses have been yes.
Yeah, that Janssen, that's just the J&J vaccine. That's the one that they were only given one shot instead of the two like Moderna and Pfizer.
Okay, so that's J&J, huh?
Yes.
Well, I know under the radar that you have taken the vaccine, and I know you had some reactions to it. And are you doing a little better now? Well, I guess under the radar took off.
Yeah, I'm getting better, but I still have a lot of issues. I started a new job, and I'm really happy with it. I work at a halfway house, and it's a really amazing job. I've been blessed by it, but my mother-in-law, she keeps trying to play down my issues with my heart and my brain, etc. Everything else that's going on. She's like, "Well, you're better, right?" I said, "Well, I'm getting better, but I'm not better. I'm still having a lot of issues, and it's like I feel ill every day. I'm exhausted all the time. I'm in pain. It's just a matter of degree, But at least now on my new job, at least I have something to look forward to. I feel ill. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't do this. But I'm like, all right, you'll feel happier when you're at work, to get my mind, off of my issues. But they just change. The symptoms just keep changing. And now it's been a year. September 17th was an anniversary of my second Moderna, my vaccine injury. But it's like everything changes. Like sometimes I'll have chest pain. Sometimes I'll actually have bleeding from my rectum. It's just, sometimes I have a hard time breathing. I get short of breath. Sometimes I have terrible headaches. My memory problems are still issues with me. And I'll write down or say stupid things like, when I was trying to say when I was writing notes at work, someone is going to go for blood work, I said blood clots, or if I say free speech, I'll say freech. Like, I still have issues, and I still have to keep working on all these issues. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're glad you're doing better. We're glad you're doing better. We're glad you're listening in tonight. Thank you, Under the Radar.
Excellent. Thank you, Rick.
All righty, there you go. Well, anyways, but a lot of witnesses were concerned that they have blood in them and they wouldn't take it if it did. But anyways, they can now at least feel comfortable, I suppose, to some degree, taking the vaccine. Okay, so, the witnesses, Jehovah's Witness governing body, they're actually playing with people's lives. I don't know why the governing body, the officials of the Watchtower, why they have got to kind of poke their nose around in medical issues. It's really a shame. They are doing it, though. They've actually encouraged everyone to get a vaccination. And Jehovah's Witnesses right now, they're putting a lot of unnecessary risk to satisfy the demands of the governing body. They're putting a lot of unnecessary risk on the rank and file witnesses. Now, they want the witnesses to go door to door. Now, I know COVID, at times it has been overrated, I'm sure, but, it's out there. And the governing body is saying, get back to the meetings, go back door to door. Don't you worry. You've been vaccinated and don't you worry about the virus. Well, the governing body, they really don't get their time in for the most part going door to door. They get their time in by giving public talks and making some shepherding calls or whatever. So, it's really not a real risk to them. But to send the rank and file out in the neighborhood door to door, really they're taking kind of a position that, go ahead, get out there. You're all right. But what if something happens to you? You really can't sue the organization. So I feel what the governing body's doing is they're trying to keep up their image as ministers by sending people back out door to door. I mean, that's probably the most famous thing about Jehovah's Witness, one of the most known things. If you say to a person on the street, hey, what do you know about Jehovah's Witnesses? Oh, they come door to door. I'm sure that's one of the big issues that everybody knows. So they're trying to keep up the image as ministers. And that's why I believe they got everyone going back door to door, because the door-to-door ministry is kind of useless. As a matter of fact, I got information. It was brought up to my attention right prior to COVID. Back in 2016, 2017, 18, right prior, they were having a lot of difficulty, the Watchtower, in recruiting people in the door-to-door work. It just wasn't working. That's one of the reasons why they went to the carts. And, that it's probably a little better than the door-to-door work, but it's still, there's still a lot of issues that are happening in the Watchtower that the governing body is trying to hide. They're not going to tell you that the door-to-door work is not a good thing and it's not working, but they want you out there, even at risk of perhaps of catching COVID. Now, another thing I'm finding that's going on right now in the organization, elders are leaving big time. More and more elders, the information coming into the 6 screens here for the last few months really, is it's dealing with elders leaving. They no longer want to serve as elders. There's more and more announcements being made in the kingdom halls that such and such elder has stepped down and no longer is an elder in the Jehovah's Witness organization. And as a matter of fact, I got one person that gave me information concerning his kingdom hall. He says there were 5 elders in their 40s who have resigned in the last few years. And the number of elders resigning right now or being removed for, of all things, apostasy is so damaging to the organization. Now, most of the elders that are left, they're older elders. They're in the 60s. They're in the 70s. And if you just fast forward say the next 10 years, and I don't believe the Watchtower is even going to be around for 10 years, but if you fast forward the next 4 or 5 years, what's the congregation going to look like? Well, that's why right now what they're doing is they're appointing as many really young men to be elders than ever before. They're appointing.
Hey there, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, hey there, Rick. What I was just going to say about all the elders leaving and the elderly ones, by the time 4 or 5 years passes, like you say, I wouldn't be surprised if there are elders as young as 18. It seems eventually like it'll get that way.
Well, no doubt they will get that way. Yeah. So now they're down to the early 20s, even some as young as 20. But so they're doing everything they can to appoint these young adults. And I'll tell you what, they when you're 20 years old, and now all of a sudden you're like in charge of a congregation, that's a power trip. I mean, it's gonna give you a lot of power. You're gonna walk around like a little Hitler, right?
Yeah.
So
hey, it was good. It's good to talk. It's good to talk to you, Rick. I'm gonna listen into the rest of the show. I'm just going through a little case of COVID right now, so.
All right. Well, you just hang in there. You just hang in there.
Oh, yes. I will. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. It's only lasted about 4 or 5 days, but it's not fun.
All right. Well, geez, we wish you the best, Braden. Thank you for dialing in.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, there you go.
Right. Bye, Rick.
So, hey, I'm gonna do one thing too. I want to show the audience. You guys know I like cheese and crackers, right? You really do. I mean, and I go to the market basket every Saturday. I get cheese and crackers and salami, and I really enjoy it. And I get ready for the program. And look what someone sent me. I'm going to show you here. This is a big tray. This is a big tray someone sent me of salami. Well, look at it. I don't know if I'm going to eat all of this, but salami and cheese and pepperoni. I wish we had an audience here tonight. So sometimes we do, but this came today. I got this huge tray of salami and cheese and crackers. I wish you were here. I'd share it with you. But I want to thank who sent it, and it was Dick Borgie and a friend. They put it together, and also Constance. So they sent that to me here, and I really appreciate that. Really, really do. So thank you guys. So anyways, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. Hey, in fact, the rating on YouTube, I made them hungry by showing him the cheese and the crackers. That's a serious tray, I know. I wish you guys were here with me. I'd be glad to share it with you. So let's take a look here. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Man, I'm going to tell you, we talk about these puff pieces, these fluff pieces you're seeing in the newspaper, you're seeing on local news channels. You guys know what I'm talking about. This is the only good news the Jehovah's Witnesses are getting. And I must tell you that they're going all out to get local newspapers to report on them and how wonderful the organization is. And it's pretty doggone disgusting. It really, really is disgusting when you stop and think about it, because these newspaper articles, they portray the witnesses as this very classy, very wonderful organization. And we know that's not true. We know it's not true at all. But anyways, I'm going to show you guys some paper here, and I'm going to share this with you. This was in the Daytona Beach paper. And on the front page of the article, let me just see if I can't get the front page up. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back, but you guys get the idea. See, okay, there it is. There's the front page. Can you guys see it? I think you can. Yeah, so we're sharing that. That's the front page of the Daytona Journal. That was just this week. And, it really disturbs me that these newspapers, friends, that newspaper has a 4-page spread all about the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's page 1. Then if you turn the page, Jehovah's Witnesses, what do they believe? And it's all really puff stuff, how great the witnesses are, how successful they are returning door to door. And it just goes on and on and on for 4 pages of talking about how wonderful the Jehovah's Witnesses are. I mean, enough is enough. It's a full-page color picture on the front. If you guys are listening in on YouTube and Facebook and some of the platforms are on, you can see that picture. So it's so disgusting that the Daytona Beach News Journal it was actually September 14th that this appeared in the paper. You know, I wish that the child sex abuse problems in the Watchtower would get the same kind of attention as the Jehovah's Witnesses now engaging in the door-to-door work once again. So, I mean, things must really be slow at the Daytona Beach Journal these days. I mean, they got nothing else to talk about. But what I see is this whole article, it reeks of paid advertising. That's what it does. It's reeking of paid advertising. And for example, I don't understand what's the purpose of this. Why would a newspaper put a 4-page spread about Jehovah's Witnesses? Come on. These guys aren't anything to write home about. I don't understand the angle of this. And why would they actually put it on the front page? Jeez, I mean, don't they have other news to talk about? Isn't there like murders, or isn't there like maybe other things you could talk about, houses being robbed or whatever? You got to put the Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses going back door to door. Friends, this is without a doubt paid advertising. Don't you think for a second this isn't that. That's exactly what it is. Let me stop sharing this now, and we'll go back to our stream. But this is nothing but paid advertising. And then not only that, but even on the second page, it's a bunch of, a real long narrative about the witnesses, who they are, where they began, but you never hear anything bad about it. There's nothing in this article saying anything. They're misprophecies or anything, but you notice the jw.org website. Now that shows me too that this is a paid puff piece. There's their website. They want everyone to get into their website. And another thing I noticed during the course of the article, I tried to span through it and read it, an obnoxious, and I mean obnoxious, number of times Jehovah's Witness, the term Jehovah's Witnesses is used. I mean, it's over the top. How many times you have to tell people Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses? The reader already knows they're reading about Jehovah's Witnesses. But yet they got to keep Jehovah's Witnesses this, Jehovah's Witnesses that. That's all you're seeing. And only, I'm going to say this. You would only see this type of over amplifying their work in a paid content. It's repetitious. It's paid. There's so much repetition. Jehovah's Witnesses, how many times do you have to mention? They mention a number of times where you could meet with the Jehovah's Witnesses in the area, where the kingdom halls are. A normal news article wouldn't do that. And a normal news article would be very objective. They just wouldn't give you one side of the story, would they? No, they wouldn't. So there's, pictures of the kingdom halls, where they are. The addresses are clearly written there as well. It's a way to get people to go to the meeting. This is horrible. This is horrific, and it's a bad choice of marketing on this Daytona Beach newspaper journal. The article, it's bad. It's horrible. They are shoving their right to go door to door in your face. That's basically what I got from reading this article. That, we're the witnesses. We're the ones that go door to door. Like it or not, we're going to come to your door. They're shoving their door-to-door work in your face. Friends, you know it. I know it. The world did not miss Jehovah's Witnesses when they were hiding in their homes longer than other religions. They were in there for 2.5 years. And the world really could care less They could care less about Jehovah's Witnesses. The witnesses are meaningless to so many people. So, here they go. They got to put it in the paper. Someone have a thought? Go ahead. You're on with us.
Yeah, I want to bring out the American Sign Language deal on videos, in addition to the public press and stuff.
You want to turn your YouTube off, guy, in the background? Just turn the
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
Anyway, I want to bring out the American Sign Language news videos about how Jehovah's Witnesses were bragging about translating the whole Bible in American Sign Language, and the Fort Lauderdale Bethel Translation Office. Just want to raise awareness to that too. This goes to all those in the deaf community in American Sign Language to pay attention to what sign language DW community is doing.
Do you sign yourself? Are you deaf? I guess not. Well. Thank you for chiming in, Guy. We did lose contact there, but we'll get you back. We'll see what happens. But anyways, this Daytona Journal, this puff piece in the newspaper, I was so pleased to see that people are now writing the newspaper. I just found out about it in the last couple of days, but I got a good mind to write them too. But they're getting already so many witnesses writing to that newspaper. And let me just tell you what they're saying. Let me tell you, I enjoyed reading what some of the witnesses are writing to the editor of the newspaper in Daytona Beach, Florida. Greetings. This is an ex-witness writing him. Greetings. I am deeply disturbed by the article published on September 14, 2022, sharing their message about Jehovah's Witnesses. So deeply disturbed, he says that knowing the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, Jehovah's Witnesses have more serious issues than journalists are not writing or talking about. It raises some serious concerns. Well, good for you for writing these people. He goes on to say, why is this fluff feel-good piece on an organization that has been covering up their child sex abuse problems? Instead, this article seems to be promoting their religion. Why? Well, that's a darn good question. Yes, they could be talking instead about all the cover-up of child abuse, but instead it seems like this article is promoting their religion. And then the person writes to the newspaper, they say, I would really like a balanced view from your journal, exposing not just the good, but the bad, as well as the ugly side of this religion. It would have been different if the article written was extolling their charity. In other words, maybe if there was some good that you could say about their charity, which there isn't anything good there either. So, the person saying it, it's their moral obligation. It's the newspaper's moral obligation. This news has been tainted. And by allowing this religion to preach via your newspaper, because that is what the article that's what the article reads like. They're preaching. They're inviting people to the Kingdom Hall. So, I have to tell you, would they give other religions? This person writes to the newspaper. Would they give other religions the same exposure? And if not, why? So we'll see what happens. But this fluffy newspaper articles, as well as local news television stations giving all of these lies about the witnesses, this has got to stop. This has definitely got to stop. What do you guys think? Yes.
I was thinking that it's just Jehovah's Witnesses, they're continually rebranding themselves from being the Watchtower Bible and Tract to being JW.org. It's just a manufactured religion that they write puff pieces about now. They're probably paid, as you mentioned, but that's their manufactured God Jehovah, which doesn't really exist. They've manufactured him, and all the brothers and sisters in the Kingdom Hall just sit there and fear him. They fear the Watchtower. They fear everything because that's what they're told that God wants, but it's not. It's what the Watchtower continues to put out there, and they're rebranding themselves, and this is part of the effort. These newspaper articles.
Well, that's a good point, Susan. That's a darn good point, because the old Watchtower, as we know it, is dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Really. It's a dead religion.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. I just was having a thought when you were talking about this whole article. I think that article is damage control because, there have been a lot of priests and rabbis that have been arrested. Some, I think, were even put in jail. And people, not Jehovah's Witnesses, but other people have obeying God rather than men, with this whole COVID thing where they can't have church. And some even were in their cars listening to sermons. So other religions who Jehovah's Witnesses think are false, they sure are doing a darn better job at worshiping God than they are. Just my thought.
Well, amen to that, Sister Donna. Amen to that, I'll tell you right now. They sure are doing a better job. What a bunch of...
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Daniel, yes.
I just wanted to share a quick experience I had. I got a store that's it's about 3 blocks away that I walk to often, and there's a neighbor, an elderly couple that live 2 houses down from me, and so I usually walk by their house to go to the store, and they always they're sitting on their front porch or whatnot because it's got a covered roof, and just sitting out enjoying the breeze or the how it is until it gets super cold here in Michigan. But anyway, this one day they invited me to come up, this couple weeks ago, invited me to come up to their porch and started talking. And somehow we got on the topic of religion. And so I told them that, I'm not really a churchgoer. And I told them I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And I shared the story, and they were like, well, you should just come to our church. It's a non-denominational, whatever. And so anyway, so we exchanged phone numbers, and they called me yesterday and said that they're going to church at 11 o'clock service. They had talked to their pastor. There's 2 different pastors, I guess, in this church, and told them that I was a former Jehovah's Witness, and they want me to go this Sunday, tomorrow, and speak at the church about Jehovah's Witnesses too. And they're very interested to know the background and to inform the public about Jehovah's Witnesses. And because I shared some stuff with the neighbors, and they shared that with the pastor, and so I'm going tomorrow to a church and going to share my experience of the Watchtower. And it's I just kind of looked at it as, what, I've struggled with going to churches before, but I'm looking at this more as to educate people so they know when somebody comes to their door, or if they see a cart, they have some background knowledge. They're not going to sit there and be blind and not know, have any education to be able to even ask questions, the right questions to ask a Jehovah's Witness. So anyway, I just thought I would share that because it's just something that just recently happened.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a marvelous thing. I'm glad that's happening. That made my day, Daniel. That's a wonderful thing. And I know you'll do a good job. I know you'll do a very good job. Boy, good for you. That's meaningful. Look at the people you'll have a chance to give the real story of Jehovah's Witnesses to, not like that newspaper article. Good man, Daniel. We're proud of you. Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Dan. Yes, I can.
Oh, yeah, I've been listening to the news story here with interest, and I guess it doesn't need much of an introduction that the press, like other bureaucracies or agencies, there it's always follow the money trail, and I can needs no introduction that that's what happened in this case here, and so forth. But the next question is, they're the Watchtower Society are just trying to make the same old mistakes and everything like that again, because people many years ago, we've been hearing this on the program, and I've heard similar stories on a less minor scale here, that the people just do not welcome the Watchtower Society people at their door, and they're doing it less and less every day, so it's becoming less and less effective. So I don't know what they intend to accomplish. And then, compared to years ago, they used to always be able to find a bunch of people there to go door to door back in the 60s, 70s, maybe 80s and 90s even. But this day and age, it's going to be less and less likely that they're going to have any success door to door, because unlike years ago, they've got people are more and more, able to wait for them. They've got cameras at their doors. They got doorbells, and all the people have to do now is, put a camera on, see who's at the door, and if it looks like the JWs are not going to answer it. So it's not going to do any good. It's going to probably take hold for a little bit, but it's going to be gone as soon as it started.
Well, you're absolutely right with that. It's going to be a very unsuccessful maneuver by the witnesses, and they already know it.
Yeah.
But they want to keep the witnesses busy, Ken. The longer you can keep them busy, the less time they're going to have to check out how corrupt they are. Good comment, Ken. Thank you for chiming in with us tonight.
I just wanted to make one more comment.
Go ahead.
Just in my case alone, I was not impressed. Was not impressed with anybody coming to my door and trying to promote religion with me at all, and so forth. I wasn't impressed at all. I was nice to them and everything like that, but I never found, religious beliefs, at the door with somebody. I did most of it through my own searching, checking out different churches and everything like that, and doing a lot of studying and doing a lot of research. So coming door to door and everything like that, I'm not very impressed.
No, it's not. No, nobody likes an uninvited guest. One time it was pretty neat that people would come to your door. You had the Full of Brush man, you had the Avon lady, you had the milkman, the bread man, you had the insurance men would come door to door and collect their premiums. But nobody goes door to door anymore. And just Jehovah's Witnesses now, they're going to be all alone. But who wants to open their door in this day and age that we're living in? For crying aloud, you're afraid to open it. You don't know what lunatic is on the other side. And like you say, with these Ring doorbells, and it's just a too dangerous world. As a matter of fact, I get nervous even when someone rings my doorbell. I don't know who it is. So sometimes I think it might be some Watchtower operative trying to get to me and tell me to knock it off. I don't know who it is. So people don't like uninvited guests, Ken. You're right.
Once upon a time,
another thing too. One more comment here. When you get into big cities and everything like that, you're going to find very, very few. If you go in to knock on a community and everything like that, you're going to find 90%, maybe more like 99.9% of the people. Like you go to New York City, about 99.9% of the people are not going to open that door for you.
You better believe it, because they don't know who's behind it. You're right.
Exactly.
You know something, Rick, too, is that we were taught as Jehovah's Witnesses, it was like a commandment. It was like we were following Christ's example by going door to door. But when you actually dig into the scriptures, they went from city to city, or you want to say town to town. It wasn't really a common thing that they were knocking on doors. but I remember seeing a picture that they have at Bethel that shows Christ. It literally has a picture of Christ, like with a disciple, and they're knocking on somebody's door. It is like giving you that visual, but when you really look at the scriptures, that wasn't the big deal. That wasn't like the commandment, like you had to go and knock on doors. It was just a matter of preaching. So they really did I guess the Watchtower would be better at doing in public areas, like when they're doing their cart witnessing, even though I don't agree with what they're doing. But I'm just saying that would be more like what Christ and them would have been doing back in the day. But for them saying, well, we had to go knock on doors, like that was a commandment, or we were following Christ, if you really truly do your own homework, you realize they weren't going from door to door. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well,
100 years ago, they had the Iceman and they had the Milkman. And so going door to door was a business model. Today, that's not the business model.
well, you're right, Pixie. It's a different world we're living in. I mean, the Iceman, forget that. Nobody buys ice anymore. You have a refrigerator. And the Fuller Brush Man, I kind of like that. I did like him. In fact, I got some stuff that I bought from him years ago. But anyways, the point I'm making is nobody does that anymore. That way of marketing's gone, but the witnesses are doing it just to keep the witnesses busy. It's non-productive. But I just wanted to bring up, Daniel brought up a point that got me thinking. It got my thinking cap spinning here. Now, yes, indeed, the witnesses will say, well, that's biblical. We go door to door like Jesus' disciples did. Well, they really didn't. When you get back and look into the New Testament, in the door-to-door ministry, as they call it, it wasn't knocking on doors trying to shove religion or Christianity down someone's throat. The door-to-door work was primarily speaking about Christians who would go house to house and meet with fellow Christians. These were fellow Christians. These weren't people
house churches were organized.
Right. So that's where the witnesses get this idea that, oh, we got to go door to door and, get people to come to Jehovah. No, the people in the first century were going door to door to house churches and meeting with one another. So that's where that comes from. But the witnesses, I'll tell you what, I have to believe just the opposite. Everything I hear in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm beginning to not believe a thing. I believe just the opposite to teaching. It's absolutely,
That's why archaeology is so interesting, because archaeology cannot lie. They've got artifacts and locations. And when you look at the early Christianity and even the early pagan world, it's amazing. And again, I had a witness sister tell me, oh, you shouldn't subscribe to Archaeology magazine. How foolish that was.
Oh, very foolish. Very foolish. Why do you think, Pixie, why do you think they don't want you subscribing to Archaeology magazine?
Well, because it told the truth about the early world. In Egypt, it showed that Yahweh had a wife, and they had little sanctuaries that were found in the Middle East. They said with the sad wars that they've had over there recently, everybody was worried for archaeology, but they said the more battles they've had, the deeper and older stuff is getting uncovered every day.
You're right. They don't want you. Well, listen, I remember when I was a full-fledged card-carrying Jehovah's Witness, they said there's no reason to read outside publications. If you read all the Awake magazines that we give you every month, you that would be equivalent to a college education. Oh, yeah. That'd be, I'll tell you. I mean, they had articles in there about the Patagonian sweater. I mean, and then they had these fluff articles in there too. That is not a college education. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. One thing the witnesses were right about is that we should all pray together and work as a community together. God made such diversity of peoples and languages and fashions and looks and such beauty that we have on earth. And in archaeology, the early world of Earth was very diverse. And that's a truth. And many people had boats and they got around and they mingled with other cultures. And when you go way back, it's just fascinating.
Well, absolutely it is.
You know what, Pixie? You know what's beautiful is that we can get on this call and share our different views, our thoughts, what we've learned, and we don't have to worry about Rick disfellowshipping us or calling us to a meeting and we're going to get punished.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't have to worry about being disfellowshipped anymore. We have freedom now to speak. We're truly Americans now.
Well, I only
Amen
disfellowshipped one person in 16 years. And that was a woman named Scally. I don't know if you guys remember it. I won't go into it. But she had a program on here, and she just wouldn't stop using vulgar words. And I say, Scally, you know, come on, let's be careful here. I mean, she would use the most vulgar words. She'd turn a sailor's ears pink, believe me. So
Can't trust broadcasting.
yeah. So I said, you can't do it. So she's the only one we ever disfellowship. But if she came back and was honest hearted and looked for forgiveness, I'd bring her back. as long as she didn't swear. Hey, listen, I don't have another story here I want to talk about, but thank you guys for chiming in. I don't know if you saw it or not, but my goodness, the Watchtower articles as of late, they are really getting spicy. Boy, they are bringing information out that's got a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses, I would think, thinking more about this organization than ever. Now, the Watchtower December Study Edition, the December 2022 Watchtower Study Edition, it's out, and it is a doozy. It's a real doozy. And, well, it states, I'm not going to read the whole article to you, but I'll bring you some points that I saw of interest that really got me thinking. So it starts out by saying, what can you do today to show that you are ready to inherit the earth? Well, we know that Jehovah's Witnesses, they're looking forward to paradise earth, and they speak of it as them inheriting this paradise that Jehovah is going to give them. Now, when the announcement is made, now this is right out of the Watchtower, December 2022 Watchtower Study Edition, I'm reading this. It says, when the announcement is made that the circuit overseer will visit your congregation, do you offer to have him over for a meal? This is right in the Watchtower. It says, when special full-time servants are reassigned from Bethel to the field, another reassigned from Bethel, they drop them off the Bethel service and they send them back on the field. They send them home. So it says when special full-time servants are reassigned from Bethel to the field, or when a circuit overseer ends his service in the traveling work, could you be of assistance by helping to find him accommodations? Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. So now they're saying some of these full-time servants of Jehovah, Bethelites, circuit overseers, when they end their service to Jehovah and they end the traveling work, or they don't need them at Bethel anymore, they're now asking in this magazine, they're asking the Jehovah's Witness rank and file, could you be of assistance by helping them to find accommodations? Wait a minute. All the time, some of these full-time servants have given to the Watchtower. I mean, some of them 40, 50 years, and now they're kicking them out. You're getting old, we don't need you anymore. So they're asking the rank and file to take care of them. Is that really the rank and file's responsibility?
Rick,
Yes.
This is Joe. Can I say something about that?
Of course, yeah.
We can totally relate to that. Just with our daughter and her husband, who were in full-time service in Ecuador, they come home into this congregation after they were out of it up there, or down there. And that's the very thing that they were discouraged about, is the fact that it's like the congregation really never acknowledged them. They didn't quite accept them, nor kind of open arms accept them. and it just didn't feel very good. And I thought that was, frankly, thought that was kind of strange for the congregation not to do that. It's almost like, you're an outsider and we're not so sure we should open our arms to you.
Well, Joe, thank you for sharing that with us. It shows us how heartless this organization is. Thank you.
Hey, Rick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll let Joe finish. Let Joe finish his statement, and then
just reinforces the fact that they're trying to do something about that. But it's true. I will acknowledge that we've seen that.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. I believe we have Daniel and Chewy. Go ahead, Chewy, and then we'll come with Daniel. Go ahead, Chewy.
Hey, yeah, this is Chewy. Oh, I missed the first part of that. Where'd you say that magazine was at? What magazine?
That's December 2022 study edition.
Okay, I'll look for it. Okay. Now, the comment that I went to a Zoom funeral, a brother that I knew, and him and his brother and I, we hung around in Brooklyn together. And, he passed away, colon cancer, bad situation. But see, this is the damage that Watchtower does. His dad and his mom have been full-time servants for years. Follow the 75 thing. They're in their 70s now, and they still have not bought a house. All they've done is measly, cleaning work like all of them do. Little, nothing. They have absolutely nothing. All right. Now they've got two. They got another son and a daughter. Both of them. One of them's still in Bethel. They're at a branch overseas, and then they have another one that is a commuter there in New York that goes back and forth to Warwick. They ain't got no money. So the employer that was there that really thought highly of the brother that passed away, he put up a GoFundMe page on the website of the funeral because they needed it. I mean, here they are. Everybody's full-time service for years, and they ain't got enough money to bury the poor brother. And that's what it said. We need help. What we need help with the funeral expenses and medical expenses. Why? Because they were with Watchtower and they ain't got nothing to show for it. I mean, it's extremely mixed emotions on that thing. Anyway, that's all I got.
Well, Chewy, that's a good comment. It really, really is. Thank you for sharing that with us, because I agree with you. You do. It really gives you a gut feel in your stomach. All the work these people put in. And not only that, I have to tell you something. I don't know them personally, but one man did give me information on a couple that's in their, they're my age. They're in their 70s. And the thing is, they're still there at Bethel. I won't say where they're working, but I know what department they work in. But they are a husband and wife. They have no money. They're scared to death to leave. They know the Watchtower is not the organization it claims to be. They know it's wrong. They know it's evil. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do with no money? Where are you going to go today? It's unreal. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got another comment, and then I'll log off. They had I put up another one of those videos that's got Fred Franz as on it, and it's a video back behind it. And anyway, it talks about how, and it's actually a Gilead discourse to a Gilead class. So the rank and file are not going to hear that. And this is a strong video. It talks about how they believed the Russell Pyramid, and this is words right out of Frederick Franz's mouth. How they believed that he says the pyramid was the Bible in stone. That's what we believed. And I put that sucker up there. No commentary to it. Just as Fred Franz on C.T. Russell's grave. That's all I put on there, something like that. It got 25 hits in the morning. I put it on there. 4 hours later, it had 25 hits on that thing on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
on Facebook. And then there was a brother that I called that is in the same situation we're talking about. He's hemmed in, and I said, because the girl that helped me with it, she says, I'm surprised he liked it. And I called him. I said, are you sure you want to put a like on that thing? He said, why not? Well, he said, why not? He said, what's wrong with it?
Wow.
Well, some people. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Chewy, they're catching
Yeah.
on. And if you're getting those kind of hits on
Yeah.
Facebook, Facebook, doesn't give you the hits like YouTube, but if you're getting those kind of hits on Facebook, you're doing good, my man. Keep up the good work.
And this is really something that PMOs can do, because technically I'm a POMO. I'm just a witness on paper. That's it. People walk away from me when they see me. They don't want to have anything to do with me. But that is something that PMOs can do, and I'd be happy to send them the videos, and they can put it on their Facebook.
Yeah.
I got on. I'll say this, and I'll this time I'll shut up. I got the article where Biden, Kim and Mikey, they put it up on their YouTube video about Biden signed that. I don't know whether you talked about it tonight, but Biden signed that child abuse thing where it removes the statutes of limitations on child abuse.
Yeah.
Well, I took a screenshot of it, right, of the document of the bill. I Googled it, and on the bottom of it, it had the ones that were involved with it. It was a senator out of Texas and one out of Minnesota. Well, guess what? They got email addresses. I found them. And those are the people you need to talk to that, well, obviously they're concerned about child abuse. They probably don't know anything about the witnesses, or, they're in their own little bubble, so they don't really pay attention to it or whatever. But I sent them some information on it, So same thing in Norway. I did it in Norway too.
Good for you. I'm going to pat you on the back, Chewy, for doing that. That's wonderful you did that. And, the word's going to get out. The more and more people hear about it. Good job. You get a gold star for that. Good job. Thank you, Chewy. All right. My goodness, friends. Can you believe all of this? And the Watchtower is getting away with it all, but they're going to be, they're asking you as a rank and file witness, could you take care of the circuit overseer? Could you take care of some of these Bethelites that we're sending home? And, it's really to the point that you got to really concern yourself with what the Watchtower is saying, especially in this magazine. And then it goes on to say in this magazine, December, 2022 study edition, it says, if a regional, now this is verbatim, I'm reading this right from the Watchtower. It says, if a regional or special convention will be held in your area, could you volunteer to work before or after the convention, or to be on hand to welcome delegates? So the Watchtower, they love putting you in a position so you're giving them free labor. Free labor is what they're saying is going to give you everlasting life. That's basically what they're saying in this article. If you give labor to the Watchtower, they're saying to Jehovah, but we know that the Watchtower and Jehovah are synonymous, right? They mean the same thing. So they're saying that if you would give free labor, if you would help us, and you'd come to the assembly with your mops and your brooms and you clean the bathrooms, you'll get, that's the key. That's the key to gaining everlasting life. So
Rich?
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
I wanted to throw something on the topic you're talking on. Would you consider Apostle Paul being like a circuit overseer, like a big person? If you were to say there was an organization back then, which we know there wasn't, but he was a big thing, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Apostle Paul.
Well, he's apostle to the nations. I mean, he was a big guy. Yeah.
Do you remember the scripture? And I don't recall the scripture, but I remember reading it. He made a comment that he was glad that he was a tent maker because he was making his own money, even though he was, if you want to call him a full-time minister or whatever. It's in the scripture. Do you remember that scripture that he was talking about?
Not offhand, but I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay. But basically, he wasn't trying to mooch off anybody. You know what I mean? He was making his own money.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we have to come to grips with. Now, you had circuit overseers, Daniel, Did you know of any circuit overseers that had a job on the side? Yeah,
I don't.
no, I
Personally,
didn't either. I mean, some of them own businesses, but that's a good. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's sensible. That's what the Bible even speaks about. Some of these early men that were followers of Christ and used in a very high capacity by Christ himself, they didn't even they worked. They were fishermen. Well, what do you think? I mean, these guys did. Did they quit? Well, let's see now. Now that Jesus is here, I can just quit being a fisherman and I can just kind of rely on Jesus because people are going to give him money and it'll filter into my pocketbook. No, these guys were still fishermen. They were still fishermen.
Lydia had considerable wealth for a woman of her time because she collected a certain kind of shellfish that they make purple cloth out of, and they still use this shellfish to make purple cloth.
Well, see, people were finding ways to earn a living other than just relying on someone supporting them, which the Jehovah's Witness organization does, including the governing body. Now they're taking all these full-time workers. I'm not saying all, but they're taking many full-time workers and they're kicking them in the butt. Go ahead now. We don't need you anymore. You're getting older. And now they're asking the congregations to support them, to put them up. Well, what about you, Watchtower? You're the one with the billions of dollars. For crying out loud, we're in inflation problems right now. Many witnesses, they can hardly pay their rent. They can't put gas in their car. They're having a hard time buying food. But you want them to put these people up? What is wrong with this organization? But I want to tell you something. The reason why they're looking and they're pushing in this article, December 2022, they're pushing for free labor. Are you willing to work at the conventions? Are you willing to go the extra mile for Jehovah and give free labor to his organization? This is being pushed because of Ramapo. Yes, they're almost getting ready to break ground. They're going to build this mega video center. They need as many free volunteers giving free labor as they possibly can. That's why they're pushing this in this December article. I can see it. Look, when you're doing this for 16 years, you got to pick up on something. They're telling you before they tell you. They want everyone, come work with us at Ramapo. Help us build the movie mega studio. Absolutely. Okay, you're on with us. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Acts chapter 18, 3 verses 4. And basically this goes in to say the Apostle Paul was a tent maker by trade, and he relied on that trade to support himself and Corinth. On his second missionary journey in Corinth, Paul met fellow tent makers in Priscilla and Aquila, if I'm saying that right. And because he was a tent maker, as they were there, they stayed and worked with them. Every Sabbath, he reasoned in the synagogue, trying to persuade the Jews and the Greeks. My point is that I wanted people to know that's actually in the Bible. And he wasn't he was considered, if you look at Apostle Paul, he was considered a big deal in the Bible, And so he was providing for himself. He wasn't relying on donations. And I'm not saying he didn't get invited for a dinner or got meals and stuff, but even in the scriptures, it's not saying that, hey, come and support me because I'm working for God. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. We got you, Daniel. Well, good man. Thank you for giving us that scripture. We had some other people in there.
Hey, Rick?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is true. I just had a thought come in my head when you're talking, picking up on stuff. They could be putting that article in there too, because they might be ready for another layoff and they need somewhere for these circuit overseers and these Bethelites to go. They might be planting a seed in that. Maybe they might be getting ready for that.
Oh yeah, no, that they are. We're going to be discussing that here very shortly. Oh yeah, no, they are. They are getting ready for it. As a matter of fact, they're getting rid of a number of full-time servants. They're getting rid of, they're telling you before they tell you in this December 2022 Watchtower. So that's what they're doing. They're getting rid of the people. They're asking the rank and file, as we just mentioned, to see if they can't give accommodations to these people. I'm telling you, it's getting very, very crazy in this organization. Billions of dollars. These guys have sold off real estate. They have billions of dollars. I mean, nobody knows the exact amount because it's a private organization. Some have said they have in excess of 15, 20 billion. I mean, I don't know if it's that much, but even a billion. Do you guys know how much a billion is? I mean, it'd be very hard to count to a billion, but at least in American standards, 1 billion is 1,000 million. Friends, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. In the Watchtower, I know some. I'll go with the Watchtower is probably worth about 5 billion, but I don't know for sure. How would you know? I mean, it's only, going on conjecture, but, real estate being sold off. So I'd say in the 5 billion range. I would think they would be more than able to take care of some of these circuit overseers. I think they could take care of some of the Bethelites. I mean, that's some sizable money. But no, they want the rank and file. They're just struggling along, just able to just barely making it by to pay the expenses and accommodations. Come on, let's get real. We got more people. You want to talk? The lines are open. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes.
Yeah, just to answer some of the questions there, they talked of where Christianity's beliefs, like the apostles and Paul and so forth. Many of the other religious groups believed that they were, in addition to apostles, they were evangelists. And that is defined, evangelist is defined as a minister that travels, town to town or back and forth or just in different countries or so forth. And many of them were classified too as missionaries when they went to other, countries. So I just thought I'd bring that up there. But the Watchtower Society, has got everything so twisted and so convoluted and so out in left field. I don't know how you could even figure it out.
Well, we're trying to figure it out, Ken. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We take shots at it, and sometimes we're right on target, sometimes not exactly. But anyways, we're reading things right out of their publications, trying to make sense of it. And I got another Watchtower here from November. We just talked about the December Watchtower, but let's talk about the December Watchtower. I'm sorry, November Watchtower 2022. It's really sounding like the Watchtower, and I just told Chewy he's thinking about, are they getting rid of the Bethelites? It certainly appears that way. They're trying to tell us before they tell us. So in the November 2022 Watchtower, particularly paragraph 23, page 23, I'm sorry, paragraph 11 and 13. So I don't know if you have the magazine, but if you're listening in, you have it, you can check it out. But one thing I'm really seeing, and I've told you guys this a million times before, and even our government does the same things on a macro level, is they tell you before they tell you. It's just what's going on right now in the Watchtower. They're telling us things before they really come out and tell us. They're kind of wetting our thoughts. They're giving us feelings before these things happen. So anyways, just to give you an idea, on page 23 of the Watchtower in November 2022, now listen to what this says. You guys are going to be blown away. Listen to what this says, paragraph 11. Fully support organizational changes. During their travels in the wilderness, the Kohathites cared for a prominent assignment. Do you remember reading about the Kohathites? Well, they cared for a very prominent assignment. Well, what was that assignment? Well, the Kohathites, what they did is they carried the Ark of the Covenant before all the people. Now, that was quite a privileged position. We are the Kohathites, and we are carrying the Ark of the Covenant before the people. What a privilege. Now, things changed when the Israelites settled in the promised land. The Kohathites, their position, they didn't have to move that Ark of the Covenant around any longer. So their position changed. And now, rather than carry the Ark of the Covenant, the Kohathites, they were assigned to work as singers. Some served as gatekeepers, and others cared for storehouses, kind of like menial. When you have a privilege or a job of carrying around the Ark of the Covenant, I mean, you would be puffed up with pride, right? But the Kohathites, when they got to the promised land, they no longer did that job. So they had to take menial jobs. But I'm going to get to the point. I'm going to tell you why I wanted to bring this story up and why I wanted to mention this in the November 2022 Watchtower. See, the Kohathites, they didn't complain, or they didn't demand a more prominent role because they had one before. Do you guys get where I'm going with this? I'm going to tell you. The Watchtower is telling us before they tell us. Now, what they're saying here is that they never complained. They took the new assignment on and just went about without any complaints. Now, what can we learn from this? I'm reading this right from the Watchtower. Wholeheartedly support changes that Jehovah's organization makes, including any that affect your assignment. So we have a lot of, they're telling you that some assignments are going to be rearranged. So they're telling you ahead of time, and it says, find joy in whatever assignment you were given. Remember that your assignment does not reflect your worth as a person. Jehovah values your obedience far more than any assignment. So what we got here in this November 20... hold on, Daniel. Let me finish my thoughts, okay? You hold on. So anyways, what we have here is we have in this assignment, we have in this Watchtower lesson, that we have them telling you before they tell you that they're going to be taking some people who have had pretty prominent positions and they're going to reassign them to other positions. These would be Bethelites. These would be traveling overseers. And then here's the clincher. I am going to give you, now you listen closely to what I have to say. You listen to this because this is where the rubber meets the road. Now they give an example. Give the example that they've considered the example of Zaina. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Zaina, a sister in the Middle East who received a change of assignment and lost her cherished privilege. Now they're talking about the Zaina. She was a Bethelite and she served for more than 23 years. And now they changed her position. They no longer needed her at Bethel, and she felt shocked by it. Now, just imagine, you spend 23 years, some even more. And then the Watchtower says, well, you know, Zaina, we don't need you anymore. And she kept asking herself, this is right in the Watchtower, November 2022. So Zaina is saying, I felt useless. And I kept asking myself, where did I fail? Sadly, some brothers and sisters in the congregation added to her pain by telling her, had you been good enough, the organization would not have let you go. This is written right in the Watchtower. Can you imagine the pressure on Zaina? Oh, I'm no longer a Bethelite. What am I going to do? And people in the organization are saying that they let me go because I wasn't good enough. I mean, that's pretty cruel. But for some time, Zaina felt so downhearted that she cried every night. Oh, I'm not a Bethelite anymore. Jehovah remove me. But she says, I never allowed myself to doubt the organization or Jehovah's love. How was Zaina able to come to her senses? Zaina was able to overcome her negative feelings. How? She read articles in our publications that addressed her personal challenge. So, you know, so this is right in the Watchtower. They're talking about Ziana, and they're talking about how she felt so hurt from having to take a lower position, but she went along with Jehovah's organization. Can you believe that? So they are obviously telling you here that many Bethelites are going to be let go, circuit overseers, but don't you fret about it. Jehovah is allowing this, and see you later. That's what they're doing. When full-time servants are sacked from Bethel, we want you, the rank and file, to fund and to house them because we don't want to do it. That's in essence what they're saying. Go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Oh, I also want to add.
We have a lady. Daniel, hold on one second. We do have a lady coming in. Go ahead, Miss.
Sorry, I wanted to add in about people being interviewed at assemblies, not just circuit overseers and Bethelites, but other quote unquote exemplary witness families, and wanted to bring that up too. That makes other people look bad.
Well, yes, it does, Guy. I'm sorry I addressed you as a lady, but it's Guy. I know who you are, and thank you for checking in. So go ahead.
Another thing, my previous comment earlier was I used to do sign language, but I'm leaving out. I want out of it. I just want to raise awareness. The thing that bugs me, not just Bethelite circuit overseers being idolized and praised, but the translation branches and the exemplary, quote unquote, exemplary family too. Even they've probably been asked about supporting the exemplary families too, interviewed at assemblies and stuff.
Yeah, well, my goodness, Guy, it's. I know you knew just getting out, and I know you came on the program earlier, and you're just wiggling your way loose from the Watchtower now. So you must have a whole litany, a whole list of things that you're concerned about. But we're so glad you're listening in tonight. Thank you, Guy.
Far too many to think about. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning of what I have to tell, what I have to say.
Well, I
know. This is only the beginning.
I know. In fact, I'm so glad that you could check in with us because I'll tell you, we all felt that way. Guy, when
my mom and my sister are still witnesses.
So do they know that you're distancing yourself?
They know I don't like going to the meetings anymore. That's the first step. But they do not know about my activity.
Are they giving you trouble? I mean, do they know that you're becoming apostate?
Oh, I hope not. Plus, I really hate that term. I really hate the term apostate. That makes you feel criminal.
Well, you're not a criminal. I mean, apostate by definition, it doesn't always have to refer to, people leaving the Watchtower. By definition, the word apostate is a standing away from. I mean, you could say, I'm not going to shop at Walmart anymore, and you would be an apostate of Walmart. So it's just that the term is, by definition, well, what term would you like to use?
Let's just say I am an enemy, the enemy of Watchtower for sure, enemy of the anointed.
No,
excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you want
anointed?
Yes. Most of us are proud to be called an apostate because, as you notice, Watchtower is giving all kinds of warnings to its members to watch out for those apostates. And that's because we're causing so much damage. We're succeeding in what we're doing, is trying to bring Watchtower down. So we're proud of being called that. Let them call us that. It goes right off our back like water off a duck. You know, it might mean something to them, but it certainly doesn't mean the same thing to us. I just wanted to say that.
Right. Another thing is, if Watchtower had their way politically, we would be arrested. We would be jailed, and if worse, executed.
Well, that's right. You're absolutely right, Guy. If the laws of the land allowed it, they would kill us. Go ahead, sir. Come on in. Say hello to Guy, and let's hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Tim from New Jersey.
Yes,
I
Tim.
wanted to ask you personally. You've been to the governing body offices. Have you seen the radionic devices that they have on display?
Oh no, I never went to Bethel. No.
Well,
I'm sure Rick went to. Rick said that he went to the top governing body offices, and I wonder if he took a tour around.
Oh yeah, I did take a tour.
I don't tour Bethel.
Yeah, well, hold on here. In fact, Guy, he's actually addressing the question to me. I did tour Bethel, and I did have an invite by a governing body member. As a matter of fact, I don't like to say it here because people have a hard time believing it, but I'll say it anyways. I was invited down to New York for a potential position on the governing body. And someday I'll tell you all about it. I mean, it was really something else. But what I wanted to say is I know about the radionic devices and what have you, but I didn't see it when I was there, no.
And Rutherford used those. These are called medical quackery devices that use the drop of blood or signature of the so-called patient in order for them to then channel the radionic box to go into the patient's body from thousands of miles away and into the organs. Now, these are electric Ouija boards, and in the book Demonism and the Watchtower, there's a preview of that book on Amazon. You can read Demonism and the Watchtower on Amazon that use these Silord crystals, these orgon crystals, to channel demons. These are occult devices. It's a smoking gun that shows you that the Watchtower is an occult practicing organization. Even Watchtower itself is from the tarot cards. It's Kabbalah. It's tunnels of Sept, clip off. That's like Kabbalah witchcraft terms. And they're using the rank and file to tether them. They're tethering you into their pyramid where they can use your life energy to then focus it on attacking people. And that's how covens usually work. That's what Aleister Crowley was doing. And these Shriner Masons are essentially making you a Muslim, not a Muslim, a Muslim, so that you deny Christ, you deny the Holy Ghost, you deny the Godhead, you go door to door doing that. It's like a satanic ritual in slow motion, and the rank and file is not aware of that. And there's a few Freemasonry, you have to renounce Freemasonry. It's based on Freemasonry. If you look at the Freemasonry logo, that square and compass, just run a web search on Azazel witchcraft sigil, and you'll see it's the same shape because you're conjuring Azazel. Azazel in the scriptures is the scapegoat. So you're agreeing to be a servant of Satan and work in his kingdom. And that's why you're so opposed to the church. But you have to renounce. You have to renounce Freemasonry. Bob Larson has just run a web search, Bob Larson, Freedom from Freemasonry, before Putin blows this place up, because they want him to do that. They're poking the bear for a reason. They want this place to go. And they're going to make Turkey, Erdogan and Turkey, caliphate. Shriners pray to Allah. That's why they're making you a Muslim. And that's why you have to be aware of what this organization is doing. These are all Shriner Masons, and they pray to Allah. And they're making you deny Christ and break the cross. And that's their whole agenda. And I got to say something. I'm not going to let you just sit there and languish. This is what they're doing. Open another tab and run occult anatomy chart. That's Kabbalah. Okay? I'm just trying to help, Rick. God bless you. I really appreciate your work.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, anyways, that's your feelings on it. And no doubt you dig very deep into all of this. So we always appreciate your comments. But I have to tell you, friends, the Watchtower is making monumental changes all the time. More and more people are finding out what's going on behind the curtains, and they're leaving. They are leaving. So we are seeing that the Watchtower is trying to do everything they can to keep people in. They're also doing everything they can to keep their coffers filled. They want people who are the rank and file to pay for people that they're kicking out of Bethel. And some of these people have been there for 50 years or more. And the Watchtower is saying, well, toodaloo, we'll see you later. And I'll tell you what, how sad that is. Just put yourself in their position. Just put yourself in their position. And I think that you'll be able to really come to grips with how sad that really is. Because you guys know what it was like being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, rank and file. Imagine being right there at the world headquarters, ground zero, and giving your whole life commitment. And now, 50 years later, see you later. We don't need you. Well, we thank you very much for wanting to come in. Go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yeah, hold on, Ken. We get some others who want to talk. And we want to give
take the other caller.
Yeah, we want to give some other people a chance here. So go ahead. Some new ones. Go ahead. Speak up.
If JWs are not the true religion, I don't know what is anymore. There's only people who claim to be God's chosen people, but their actions prove otherwise. There's only people who claim to be Christian, but their actions say otherwise.
Well, they do. They do, in fact, guys. So that is good you say that, because thank you for saying that, because I couldn't have said it better myself. Their actions. Are the Jehovah's Witnesses really true Christians? Their actions really, I mean, are they loving? Are they concerned about you? And Guy, I'm sure right now you have a lot of things running through your head. You're new here coming in. Your relatives and friends, they're still witnesses. You're descending. But let me just ask you, I'm just curious, because you came in on the program before this one. What got you out? What got you thinking about how evil this organization is?
Oh, it's a long story, to tell you the truth. I was doing some research on Watchtower and World War I and all of that stuff. I was originally trying to be careful not to look into quote unquote the apostate sources, but then have YouTube. This was late 2016 when on the 100-year anniversary of Russell's death, and I read Finished Mystery. There are things that I found out that contradicted what I believed in the first place. And more of the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, I got deeper and deeper. Then I found out that Watchtower has lots of things to hide. His hypocrisy is being exposed. Plus, even when I was still in, there were some things I did not like, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. There were some things I really didn't like in the truth. I have been known to be obsessive compulsive, so.
Well, no doubt you have a lot going through your mind, Guy, a lot going through your mind. Boy, we're so glad, though, you're sharing some of these things with us. But you just hang in there. And I know there's a lot to digest here, but you just kind of hang in here with us tonight, okay? and we'll be able to address some of these issues as we go further downstream. And then what we're going to do is one of these nights we're going to get you on, and we're going to let you give all the information you know about the Watchtower in a special program for you. How would that be?
I also want to bring out Find a Grave, the website that has Watchtower Farm Cemetery too.
Yeah, well, right now we can't do it right now, Guy, because we're in the middle of a newscast. But we're going to get you on. You can talk about all of this. But one of these nights we'll do that. But right now we're on the news program, so you hang in there and just listen to the news, and we'll bring you back from time to time. Okay?
Plus, I've tried to bring out assembly dates and locations for protesting too.
Oh yeah, well that's good. You want to do that. So maybe we'll bring you on a little bit, but I'm trying to get through the newscast. So let me get through the newscast, and then if we have some time, we can talk to you a little bit more. We have a program, we have a format that we follow here with JW World News. So we got to stay to the format. And some night what we'll do is we'll bring you on, and we have a program where people. Now let me ask you this. Maybe the program coming up next. Can I ask where you live? Or you don't want to share that with us? Are you in Eastern time?
Yeah.
All right.
I live in Florida.
Oh, Florida. Okay. Well, that's a nice place. I live there myself. But anyways, what to do is we have a program coming up next, and maybe they can spend a little more time with your concerns. So that's heart to heart. They're coming up here at about 9:30. So if you can hang in with us, I believe they'll be able to spend a little more time with you. Could you do that?
I'll be more careful. I'm sorry to have taken up your time.
Well, no, it's not. Don't be sorry. I love to hear from you more, but we just have to. There's certain things we have like 17 different programs, and this is the news. So I have to give the news because that's what they want. But the program coming up next, they do more like interviewing and talking to people. So if you're around in another 45 minutes or so, come on in then, and I believe we can get these guys to talk a little more to you. I think that'd be wonderful. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll do that then.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Guy. That's good. That's good that he's coming in. I wish we had more time to spend with him. But anyways, we have got a lot of things. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, it's up to you, Rick. If you want me to chime in real quick, this is Gilbert. And I was just listening all day today. It was fun, but when that lady called and she talked about is Watchtower religion and stuff, I just wanted to remind people that a very famous broadcaster says words mean things. You have to understand that even liars and crooks are telling you the truth, but they're playing with the language. I'll give you an example. Watchtower says they're not a church. They're not lying to you. They're not a church. Watchtower says they're Jehovah's organization here on earth. But legally, they're a Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York and Pennsylvania. So legally, they're a society. But they tell you they're an organization because they're an organization that listens and obeys to the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. They even tell you in their literature, they speak the same language. So words mean things. So Watchtower, the thing about being a true religion, no, Watchtower is not a religion. They're telling you. And the only time that they're a religion is when they have to go to court. When they go to court, then automatically they're a religion, but really they're a society and they're an organization. And I just want everybody to know that liars and crooks will always tell you the truth. It's just like Satan, they like to play with those words. You're not going to die. Well, maybe not today, but sooner or later you're going to die, That's how it works. And that is news you can use.
Well, it is news you can use. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Yes. So have no despair. Thank you very much, Rick.
Always good to hear from you, Gilbert. Don't be a stranger now. You come back and visit us. My goodness, we love to hear from you. Well, that's Gilbert out there in California. I'm sorry, he lives in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's wonderful. We always hear from him. But friends, I have to tell you, the Watchtowers as of late, they are filled with information that is really provocative. It's thought provoking, if you would. They are talking now in this November edition of the Watchtower. We just discussed a little bit of it on how they're going to be letting Bethelites and circuit overseers go, and they want the rank and file to be able to support them. But also I find another thing. Boy, these Watchtowers, as of late, the information that they have in them is just unbelievable. So now this Watchtower, November 2022, page 16, it has an article in there. It's dealing with when responsible brothers are mistreated. So you say, well, what does that article have to deal with? When responsible brothers are mistreated? Well, they're talking about when responsible brothers are defamed, arrested, or persecuted. Do not become intimidated. All of this is justified using the Bible and the examples of Paul. Oh, I see. So they're telling us ahead of time, telling us again before they tell us, don't you take it too seriously if you see some responsible brothers being defamed, arrested. Am I reading that right? I'm reading it right out of the Watchtower. Arrested? We're going to see some prominent brothers arrested? And let's not be too quick to jump to conclusions. Let's not become intimidated, according to the Watchtower language. So they're telling us before they tell us, friends, I'm going to tell you, now just listen closely. Are they telling us that there's going to be some prominent brothers, responsible brothers, if you would, that are going to be arrested, and they're going to liken it to persecution? They're going to call it persecution? Could this be what's on the horizon? I know the governing body's being questioned for hiding sexual child abuse and covering it up. Is there something here that we have to pay attention to? Well, why would they have it here? Why would you write this in the Watchtower? This is not sensible to me. So they're telling us before they tell us there's going to be some responsible brothers that are going to be defamed, arrested, or persecuted. Call it what you want. Friends, they're coming after the Jehovah's Witnesses. The Jehovah's Witnesses know it. So I feel that's pretty good. I really do. I'm seeing an organization here tanking big time. What do you guys think? Am I reading more into this? I'm reading it right from the Watchtower. So, don't accuse me of looking at this through road-colored glasses. Why would they put that in there? Did you ever read an article in the Watchtower saying that some responsible brothers would be arrested? I don't ever remember reading an article like that. But here it is in November 2022 study edition of the Watchtower. Yeah. And also, they are telling...
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Daniel.
I was just thinking as you were talking about, and you've said this before in the past years, what if the Watchtower is planning for the governing body to have an exit strategy, whether they portray it as they got arrested or they had to go into hiding until they're no longer going to be visible, so they'll put other people in charge. And so basically the governing body just takes money and runs with it. I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not, but I think they, with the money they have, they could go to places in the world that they wouldn't be expedited, or if I'm using the right word, they could go and live like kings for the rest of their life and just take the money or take so much money and live like kings. I wouldn't be surprised if the governing body disappears, but they'll play it as either they were being persecuted and whatever, or they just simply play it as they got arrested or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's just my thought.
Well, no, those are good thoughts. I mean, we can all think about these things, and those thoughts aren't too far-fetched. The Watchtower is concerned about one thing, and that's money. And let's not kid ourselves. The Watchtower is nothing more than a big business. We've talked about it many times here on the 6 Screens, masquerading as a religion. So follow the money trail. And, these articles I'm reading in the Watchtower, they're very telling. What they're doing is they're telling me many things ahead of time. I mean, I'm not a psychic here. I'm not even a futurist. The Watchtower is telling me these things. And then I'm looking here too at the November 2022 Watchtower again. I've been thumbing through it the last couple of days. And geez, I'm seeing things that this is crazy. They're telling the witnesses things that they got to start preparing for. For example, in this November 2022, I mean, I've already discussed a number of things. My goodness, they're filled with all these tidbits of future events that are going to be taking place. So it says here, there's going to be more congregations merging. More congregations merging is coming. That's basically what they're saying. That's what I'm getting from this article. And it says by Aldo, a 73-year-old elder in Slovenia, struggled when his congregation merged with another congregation and the Kingdom Hall that he attended was closed. He said, I did not understand why such a beautiful Kingdom Hall would be closed. Well, isn't that what has been going on in the Watchtower? Many congregations merging and then closing the Kingdom Hall and then selling it off, the one that's closed, and the Watchtower would collect the money. Well, Valdo, this is what he said. I felt hurt. I'm reading this right verbatim from the Watchtower. Well, he felt hurt because he had recently renovated the hall. He said, I am a carpenter and I had built some of the new furniture. Also, the reorganization required many adjustments that were not easy for us older publishers. So Vialdo, he just was saying that he was going to adapt to the changes and Jehovah's organization would bring him blessings. So this is what's going on. There's a lot of witnesses right now that feel very much like Vialdo. They are experiencing their kingdom halls being sold off. They're being compressed. They're merging in with other congregations. But this article in the November 2022 Watchtower Study Edition, it says that, he's going along with it all. And so then the article says, are you struggling with the adjustments that come with a congregation merge or an assignment change? Be assured that Jehovah understands your feelings. When you support such changes and loyally stick to Jehovah and the organization that he is using, you will surely be blessed. Oh, yes, you'll be blessed. There goes your $700,000 Kingdom Hall that everyone saved their pennies up. They gave out of blood, sweat, and tears to build. There goes your Kingdom Hall, $700,000 down the tubes. We're going to merge you now with another congregation. But just go with it. Just rely on Jehovah, and he will make all things wonderful for you. So, yes.
I'm sorry, it's just heartbreaking to me how many of these faithful dear ones that continue to plod along, serving the Watchtower, trusting in the Watchtower because they think they're being faithful to Jehovah, and to see them robbed blind. And when they go along faithfully because they want to obey and be faithful to Jehovah, they're like, condoned, like, Jehovah appreciates your faithfulness. But isn't it interesting how every single time there's a merging of two congregations, that the Kingdom Hall that gets sold is the one that was just fixed up. It's the one that is all nice and pretty. It's the one that brings in the most money. It's the travesty. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's going on. So they're telling you in this November issue to not be mad because your Kingdom Hall has been merged. Just go along with it and Jehovah will bless you. Friends, enough is enough. That is why there's so many people waking up right now. That's why there's so many people that are waking up and smelling the coffee. They've had enough of the Watchtower. Okay, we do have more callers wanting to come in. So go ahead. You're on with us.
Hi, Rick.
Let's go. We got two women. Let's go with the first woman, then we'll go with the other woman, then the man. Go ahead, sister.
All right. Am I the first woman, Carrie?
I believe Carrie. In fact, I'm going to make you the first woman. We love Carrie.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Listen, I'm a little confused about this. Now, our congregation in our city was built by the brothers. Their money and everything into it. They did take a loan out. They paid off that loan. And I don't understand how the Watchtower Society can claim a building that belongs to the people. I mean, is it that we're renting their Watchtower Society named Kingdom Hall? Is that what makes them owners of it? I mean, I don't get it.
Well, yes. Who wants to? You want to comment? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, remember a couple of years ago, it's been longer than that. They came and they got all the deeds to every Kingdom Hall and all the property, and then they made the friends sign a promissory note that you'll still send so much back to them each month. So yes, they own every piece of property around the world.
Well, I think that stinks. And I think it stinks because these brothers, and I remember when that Kingdom Hall of ours was built, plumbers, masons, all of them donated their time, labor, even money for supplies, and they lose it. Period. It's just like I don't know why they're not upset. So, well, it is what it is, I guess.
Well, the thing is, too, Carrie, to bear in mind here, the Watchtower nefariously or kind of schemingly took the title to all of these Kingdom Halls. Back in around 2016, 2017, they wrote a letter, and the letter was read in the congregations, that if you have a mortgage, now follow this through. This was kind of like a real scheme. If you have a mortgage on your building, now back in 2016, 2017, there were many congregations, Kingdom Halls, that had a mortgage. Some of the mortgages were like $500,000. So the Watchtower sends out a letter, dear brothers and sisters, we are so glad to let you know that your mortgage is going to be forgiven. You will no longer have a mortgage on the Kingdom Hall. We are rescinding it. Oh my goodness, the brothers and sisters jumped up and they clapped and they were happy, but then they read the second part of the letter. And the second part of the letter is, well, even though we're rescinding or eliminating your mortgage, we want you to send in money to us every month that would have been equal to your mortgage payment. And if you can even send more, we'll be glad to take it. So that took place.
What a joke.
It is a joke.
What a
joke. So this is like an ongoing mortgage forever. So then even Kingdom Halls that had their mortgages paid, the Watchtower suggested, well, you could send us your money that would be equal to a mortgage if you had it. I mean, what a scam. So the brothers and sisters, oh yeah, well, we'll do that. So we'll send you the, $800, $1,000, $1,200 a month, whatever the mortgage would have been. So this is how they managed to take the Kingdom Halls over. Now, I have to tell you that not all the congregations around the world were happy with this. Some of the Kingdom Hall congregations were very upset that the Watchtower was taking a building away from them that the locals paid for with their hard-earned money. And so many of the elders said, no, we don't want to do it, but they removed the elders and just fellowship them. There's a big case going, there's a big case going on right now in England where this is happening. But what they've done in the last 4 years is they made a concerted effort to get all of these kingdom halls, the title to it, turned over to the Watchtower. Terrible.
Well, we know they're dirty, and they're dirty for money, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I felt so bad for our hall when it was taken over. It's disgusting. But anyways, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. Thank you for explaining everything.
Well, we love your 2 cents worth, Carrie. Don't you be a stranger. You come back and see us again. We always love Carrie.
I certainly will.
All right. Thank you. All right, go ahead. We get some more on here. Go ahead. You're on with us. It's your time to speak up. Go ahead. Hit star six. Yes, go ahead.
Hi. Yes, hi, Rick. It's Constance.
Yes.
How you doing today?
I'm cranking away at it, Constance.
Well, give our love to Susan as well.
I will.
And I just wanted to say, Rick, what's interesting with regard to this article is, you can't forget about Erwin Zalkin, the attorney down in San Diego, California, who filed a lawsuit against all of the governing body members on the basis of pedophilia in the organization. So, that lawsuit's been very quiet for a number of years now. And maybe perhaps things are starting to culminate and come to some kind of verdict. You never know. Watchtower obviously knows something, and they're trying to prepare the rank and file for what's going to be announced to prepare the brothers and sisters. So it's just a thought, but I think it's worth mentioning here tonight on the show.
Well, it is, Constance. It's it's pretty much, it sounds so elementary, but at the same time, it's very confusing for some people. But what cults do is they do tell you before they tell you. And we're finding this out even right now with the United States government. They for some reason, in Jimmy Bell on his program, The Big Picture, he talks about this as well. But for some reason, the people, as many have now understood things in America, there is an unknown group that is trying to take America over. Now, whether everyone on the program tonight wants to believe it or not, it's up to them. But they call it the Great Reset or the Coming New World Order or whatever. But there's something in their ways of doing business where they have to at least warn people or tell them ahead of time. And they are doing that. There's little bits of information that is seeping out and people are coming to grip with it. And they're saying, well, okay, I'm not sure. But the Watchtower does the same thing on a micro level. And they are, for some odd reason, and I think I know what the reason would be. They don't want you in complete shock. That they want to tell you kind of ahead of time so that they can have a soft landing, I guess. But that's what the Watchtower is doing right now with these articles. They're hoping that you obey the instructions from the Watchtower, even though they may seem illogical. I mean, we talked about that many times before, but Constance, you're absolutely right. They're kind of putting it out there ahead of time. The witnesses are becoming aware of it. Thank you, Constance.
Well, and just one other thought, Rick. I was going to say, the pedophilia is not just inside the Watchtower organization. It's, permeated throughout the whole world in different organizations, even political organizations, governments, politicians, everyone. And I honestly believe, Rick, that this kind of evil is going to be, this kind of evil and other kinds of evil are going to be exposed to the world for people to really be aware of it. I mean, they can only hide it for so long. And then, light always permeates through darkness. It's never the other way around. Darkness might, be in existence for a certain period of time, but light will always pierce through the darkness, no matter what. And I do believe that all of this evil will be exposed in the Watchtower and worldwide too. And and people will be probably pretty shocked when they find out, the news of these kinds of things. So thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Constance. Always good to hear from Constance. My goodness. Thank you very much. Jay,
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, just another thought on what Connie was saying. In my former congregation, now this goes back 33, 34 years ago, we had 5 men that were pedophiles. Now, some of them are probably elders today, and I'm sure in the governing body, there is a lot of pedophilia going on. We've heard rumors of it for years, and they're telling us before they tell us, and the reason for that, I believe, is that when a governing body member or an elder gets arrested for pedophilia or something like that, you don't believe it, it just adds to the persecution complex. But the Jehovah's Witness organization is filled with pedophiles. Thank you.
Well, nobody's going to doubt that, Dick. I mean, at least people coming out of the Watchtower are not doubting it. That's exactly the truth. Boy, I'll tell you, our lines are opening up here tonight. Did you want to say something? Go ahead. We got room for more people to come in if they like, on JW World News. If you want to speak up, go ahead and do it right now. You're with us. Boy, I have to tell you, it's amazing how many people are coming into the 6 Greens as of late. But, we're all learning together. This is like a giant therapy session. Now, I'm not saying we're all trained therapists, but what is better than getting on a live internet program in real time when we can talk about many of the concerns, many of the feelings we've had about the Watchtower organization. Now, you can go to a therapist, and some of them are pretty doggone good, but some of them are pretty doggone bad. And, what do they really know? What do they know about the Watchtower? Very little in many respects. Some do know a lot, but not all. And then you think, what's a therapist? I mean, my wife Susan, she uses a good phrase. It's rent a friend. You go and you pay them, $50, $100, sit down with them. They have no clue to what goes on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. But, we're doing this tonight. This is like a giant therapy session. We're all learning together. Friends, it's helping me. We're all trying to flush all of this junk out of our minds that the Watchtower put in there. Oh, my goodness. Well, anyway, yes.
Something I was thinking about earlier when you were sharing some stuff, I found it interesting when I was coming out of the Watchtower is that I noticed that the Watchtower likes to use Old Testament scriptures to control their members for obedience. And when I was coming out, I remember, we all have went through the Bible. We all sat there through the theocratic ministry school and gone through the Bible every year, and plus whatever you read on your own. But the scripture that came to me that I had never fully paid attention to was in Galatians. I think it's Galatians 5:1. Basically, it talks about that Christ set his people free, and be careful that you don't allow your yoke to become enslaved again. And so you now got a free people. You can think for yourself like the Bereans did. And yet the Watchtower doesn't focus on those scriptures. They take you back to Old Testament to try to control you. They don't, I think it's very little that they take you into New Testament to try to make a point. They seem to always go back to Old Testament as far as to keep you under their thumb. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, that's good. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. They do use the Old Testament. All of the talks, in fact, if you remember, when we were all in the ministry school, most of those talks were based on the Old Testament. Oh, they love the Old Testament. But getting into Jesus' words in the New Testament, oh, no, we kind of, that's reserved for the anointed. They're in the New Testament. We're still in the Old Testament. Well, anyways, it's just amazing what's going on this week. A lot of things are happening behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And I have to say,
Rick?
Yes.
Just one thing. I agree with Daniel. If the witnesses read their Bible, which is a rotten translation, by the way, it's considered one of the worst translations that are out there. That what they're trying to show is that the New Testament just apply to them, but they still say, well, Armageddon's around the corner. Armageddon's around the corner. And if they really believe that, why would they put millions of dollars in upstate New York in the middle of nowhere to build this huge center for whatever they decide they're going to put there? It doesn't make sense. If they really believe their own teachings, they wouldn't be making treasures for themselves on earth. They'd be making treasures for themselves in heaven. So it's just, and that's why they don't get into the New Testament. And the Revelation book, they don't even haul that out anymore. I don't even think you can get it. They don't print it anymore.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely, Susan. That's exactly right. It's just unbelievable what they're going forth with and spending all this money. And it's all about money. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. They are on a they're on a gig to get money, and they want to be able to get as much as they possibly can. Thank you, Susan. Well, we get I'm just checking things out here. We got in another few minutes. We got Dan Clark and Angela. Okay, is the call number? I got a guy wanting to come in. Is he still no? Okay. Well, we got Dan and Angela coming up here. I'm just trying to communicate with him through my tablet here. We are here. Well, let me just write. Okay, you. They're going to be coming on. We're going to bring in Dan and Angela.
Hey there, Rick.
Yes, Dan. In fact, that's better. Yeah, let me just talk to you right now. So I sent you a link. Yeah, we want you and Angela to come on. So I did send you a link. You'll be able to come on YouTube.
Yes.
All right. And the other,
we can do that.
And what other question did you want to ask about the fella coming in from Australia?
That actually he had to go.
Okay.
And so he did something else, but I had kind of an open show in mind. Afterwards, me and Angela were going to talk about, where do you go after the cult? A lot of guys are, really scared. They don't want to walk into a church. They don't want to go here. Are we going to enter another program? How can we avoid not getting into a program, another mental program where we're enslaved? And so, I was going to kind of throw that question out there, where do you go? Yeah, and maybe list some things and just see where people are at. Does that sound pretty good?
Oh, yeah. We had a number of new people coming in here tonight. There was one young man that came on. We call him Guy. That's not his real name. He just wiggled his way loose. He's only been out for a couple of months, but he came on earlier on Anne-Marie's program. He was on my program, and I told him he didn't have too much time to talk with him. But I says, if you call into the program coming up next, they might be able to spend a little more time with you. So we'll see if Guy comes in and wants to share a little more with you. Okay.
Good. Sounds great.
All right. So I did send you a link. I sent the link to your prodigals, my prodigal. Yeah.
Yep.
I sent it there. So if you get that link, just hit it and you can come into the green room and I'll be connecting with you guys in the next 15, 20 minutes. All right. That's Dan. That's Dan Clark. He'll be coming on next on our program. We have a number of different programs that run here on the 6 Screens, and we're so glad that people want to come in and expose the Watchtower. These people, for the most part, former Jehovah's Witnesses, and this is how we get the word out. How do you think we're going to get people aware of how dangerous the Watchtower organization is by just kind of not saying anything? No, we have to talk. And that's why we do this every Saturday night. And we're trying so hard to really alert the world to how dangerous and how destructive this organization is. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I usually don't get into politics, as everybody knows. I remain pretty neutral. But I'm going to tell you tonight, I want to tell you, I read something this week that Biden did, and I'm going to give him a little pat on the back. I usually don't pat politicians on the back, as you guys know. But I'm going to give Biden a little pat on the back this week for helping to sign into law a bill that's actually eliminating the civil statute of limitations for child sex abuse victims. Well, I found that very fascinating. So Biden on Friday signed a bill that will eliminate the statute of limitations for people who were sexually abused as minors to file civil claims. Now, the Eliminating Limits to Justice for Child Sex Abuse Victim Act was passed by the House by voice vote on Tuesday after passing the Senate by unanimous consent in March. So I'll cut to the chase. So what this means is that anybody that has been abused sexually by anyone, we're focusing here on the witnesses, so this kind of comes to light on our newscast tonight, because this will also help Jehovah's Witnesses that have been abused sexually. So there's now no statute of limitations for civil. Now, you know the difference, I hope, from civil and criminal. Now, a civil lawsuit can be charged or filed by a plaintiff. If you are the plaintiff and you say, well, listen, when I was just 7 years old, I was raped by John Doe in the Watchtower, and you really feel legitimately that happened, you can file a lawsuit now against Brother Doe civilly. Now, what does that mean? Well, he's not going to go to jail if you win, but you could get him to pay where it hurts in his pocketbook. So that opens the door to so many new lawsuits. The Watchtower is going to be inundated. They're not going to be able to handle all these lawsuits. So no more statute of limitations. And, they're finding out some of these, senators and authorities and psychologists and psychiatrists, they're therapists. They're finding out that, a lot of people, when they have been raped, sexually abused, they don't want to talk about it. It's kind of embarrassing to them. But now we see that more and more people, and I encourage people to come out and talk about it and get it out of their system. But we're finding that more and more people have hid it inside for so long, including even a good friend of mine that died. His name was Mark Paulo. Remember him? Yeah, Mark Paulo. Well, he had a program here in the 6 Greens, but he was abused sexually when he was just a little guy, 8 years old, at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses in Brooklyn, New York. He was actually molested by a governing body member. He claims that Leo Greenlees molested him. And right before Mark died, I'd say 2 years before Mark died, he asked me about that. He says, Rick, do you think that I could still bring a suit against the Watchtower for what they did to me and ruin my life? So we checked it out. We checked all the statutes, but he missed it. He was pretty much too far downstream. But Mark, you died a little bit too early, buddy. You died a little bit too early. Now the doors are open. And I believe there's going to be a flood of lawsuits against the Watchtower. I hope that's the case. And so many people have been so inhibited to talk about it. But now they're talking. And if I was the Watchtower, I'd be sweating in my boots that this is going to cost them millions of dollars. And you watch, we're going to see so many more lawsuits in the Watchtower than ever before. That's my feelings. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Did you ever hear of so many lawsuits against an organization? Friends, I had no idea when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses that they were covering up all this child molestation. I can't believe it even to this day. But when I started doing the broadcast 16 years ago and people started coming on and telling me about these things and sharing their experiences. I was just blown away. Unreal. So this is a good thing, and I'm glad people are now starting to speak up and talk about it. Hey, you're on with us. Would you like to say something? Hey, we'll give you some time here. Give you some time on the 6th.
Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Thomas Hunt from Lawrence, Kansas.
Yes.
What do you think about all these cases where people try to do something? So, you run out, statute of limitations won't allow it. Now, can they come back and do something now like they should?
Yes. They can.
Oh, that's good. I will say I'll give him a high five for that. That's one thing he's doing.
Well, that's
good.
you know,
I'm glad to see that.
we have to. Well, you know, I think any president would have done that.
Right.
I think even if Trump was in, or Obama, or Bush, or Reagan, or Kennedy, or anybody, I think they would have. I think they would have gone along with it, because look at the repercussions. Suppose Biden said, "I'm not signing this." Oh my goodness, that would be a bad move on his part. So, but he's in office, so I'll give him the credit. Thank you for signing that, Biden. Yes. There you go. Well, thank you, Thomas. Thank you. Always good to hear from you. I guess I was hearing earlier that, you know, you're going to get the car shipped out to you. Randy thought it might be good if we could drive the car out. Susan, you know, we're still going back and forth to doctors. We get some doctor's appointments with a dentist here. So I'd love to do that for you, but because of her health conditions, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I thought it was a good gesture. I thought it was a good gesture on Randy's part. But also, I'd hate to have you I'd hate to have you pay right now. You only have to pay for one plane ticket, but I'd hate to put you on the hook to pay for two, you know, because it's expensive. It's expensive. Yeah. Well, thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, friends, I'm going to tell you what, I get excited every Saturday night. I feel 10 feet tall. I really, really do. And when I do the news, I just collapse. I mean, I go to bed, I listen to a pasta, babe. I can't listen all night long, but I'll fall asleep probably about 1 o'clock. And then I am just zonked. And then I get up in the morning, and we got a program tomorrow. And I wanted to bring that up tonight. We have a program tomorrow. And it's a wonderful program. It's 6 Screens Sunday. But 6 Screens Sunday is different than 6 Screens Saturday. Now, I'd love to have you come in and join us. Now, we don't talk about theological issues here on Saturday night. You guys know that. You know, we don't preach to you. But if someone starts preaching, we shut them down pretty quick. I mean, from time to time, we have to mention Bible scriptures, and like even, Daniel tonight, he brought up about the door-to-door work and how the witnesses are going back doing it. Well, he gave us scriptures on supporting where they get these scriptures supposedly to do that. That's okay. That's not preaching to anybody. He's not trying to convert you. He's just giving you an idea of where witnesses get their feelings from the scriptures. But, we don't we don't preach on Saturday night. But on Sunday, my goodness gracious, 6 Screens Sunday, we get into the theological aspects of the witness work. Now, only about 20%, from what I feel, about 20% of Jehovah's Witnesses that leave the organization become Christian. The other 80%, no way, nothing to do with that. I don't care. I don't want it. And they leave, and that's okay. That's okay. But for those that do have a theological concern, they want to hear what other people who have left the Watchtower, what they're doing for their beliefs. Well, you can listen in tomorrow, beginning at 12 noon. Yeah, we have a program called Theology Matters with Chad Burns out of Illinois. And you got a program tomorrow. And then at 1 o'clock, we got the Knowing God program. Now, the Knowing God program tomorrow, you don't want to miss this. If you don't listen to any others, these two guys, Jody and Scott, the Christian apologists, they're going to be talking about blood transfusions. and why the Jehovah's Witnesses have the feeling they do toward blood transfusions. He's going to show you that's all quackery. So that's tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock. And then we have Anne Marie. She has ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their Christian testimony on how they became Christians when they left the organization. And we have a man coming in here tomorrow from Lowell, Massachusetts, the next town over, ex-Jehovah's Witness. He wants to tell you how he became a Christian. And then, of course, at 3 o'clock, we do JW World News. And then at 4 o'clock, do you have a Bible question? Well, we have a man that one time was associated with the writing department of the Watchtower. He's worked on some of their most highfalutin scriptural or spiritual brochures, like the Trinity brochure. He's coming on tomorrow, and you want to listen to him, Jay Hess, at 4 o'clock. Friends, we're so glad that you could come in tonight. And, I know you guys like the YouTube. You've been listening to that. I know you, and I'm glad that I'm flattered. I couldn't believe so many people were writing me because we were taken down off of YouTube for a couple of weeks. Where's Rick? What's going on? I see it on the forum. Well, thank you. I thank you for wanting to come in, and I thank you for loving me. I really do. I thank you for doing that. That made me feel good. That I felt very, wow, these people really like listening to our program. So, yeah, we're back on YouTube, and we're going to go slow. I'm going to kind of keep the conspiratorial programs off. And then what we're going to do is we're on a number of other platforms. So these conspiratorial programs, they'll still be with us, but we're going to have them on Facebook and Rumble and BitChute and some of these other platforms where you can do it so you're not censored. So we're glad you're back with us. I mean, I missed you guys too. I love you YouTube guys. You comment and you're very active. I really love your presence, and thank you for coming in tonight and wanting to be with us here on YouTube. And also the people on Facebook too.
Hey, Rick.
I don't want to let the people on Facebook think that we don't think that they are our enemies or anything. We love the people on Facebook and all the other networks we're on as well. Yes, Daniel.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking as you were talking, as for anybody that's new listening on here, is you now have a platform. You've been introduced to a place that you can come to where you could never speak your mind. An organization that we grew up with, and if we had thoughts that were a little bit different, or if we had questions, it was a fear of judgment. You could even think if you share with your closest friend, it was safe, and all of a sudden that friend, to them, it was a red flag, and they go and talk to the elders, and all of a sudden you find yourself in an elders meeting. You now have a platform of people from all across the world on here that you can share with, and that will love you and accept you regardless of what you believe now, where you're at now, because it doesn't really matter that where you're at now. It's the fact that you're out, that you've had that spiritual awakening. And so this is a beautiful place to meet beautiful people. And Rick has done to have this for us, to be able to come here and share with one another. And it's a non-judgment. I mean, yeah, sometimes some of us get a little frustrated with this or that, but you know what? At the end of the day, we all love each other, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So any new person on here that's listening tonight, we welcome you. Speak up. We love you. You will be accepted. And thank you, Rick, for all of your hard work, and Susan too.
Well, you're very welcome, Daniel. But, I figure this is one big team. We've got so many ex-witnesses right now. We got about 17 different programs. And, you don't want to miss any of them. It's hard, I know, to listen to them all, but we have great programming. Next week, we have Jimmy Bell. Now, he is really doing a great job here on the 6 screens. And he has the big picture along with Laurie and Laurel and Tracy. They do a wonderful job. He'll be back with us next week. And you'll be able to listen to him right here on our network. And he's going to tell you things you never heard before. So he's got the big picture that's coming back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we really, really enjoy all of the programs we have. And we have more coming up in September. We have 3 new programs starting. So we'll give you more information on that as well. So we want to thank all of you guys for coming in tonight. And, if you like what you see here on YouTube, well, go ahead and, give us a like or subscribe to our channel. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead and share what you see here and let the world know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. I believe, but did someone want to make one last comment before we go? I just heard.
Yeah, Rick, I'd like to get in here for a second or two.
Oh, yeah.
I just like the audience to realize that these programmings that we do on 6 screens, they're cathartic. There's a lot of different groups out there, like for veterans who've seen a lot of combat and they're stressed out about it. Every time you go to a vet group or go to 6 screens, the pressure that you used to feel is diminished just a little bit. And then you can see what a scam what a scam the Watchtower is. And 6 screens exposes that. So we bless you, Rick, and everybody else that's been on 6 screens over the years. And it's really a wonderful thing. It is free. All you have to do is listen, and it's free. You'll never get that from the Watchtower. Thanks, Rick.
Well, there you go, Dick. Well, thank you very much for the good comments. We're going to be moving to the Heart to Heart program. Angela and Dan Clark.
Hi, Rick.
Yeah.
Hi, Rick. I just have a quick thing. Can I just share a quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that law that Biden signed in would be retroactive. I read something that says otherwise. So I think that might have been, I'm still looking it up. So I think it's not retroactive.
So in other words,
from here forward,
from here
forward, the statute of limitations, we don't have to have one. But
okay, well, I'm sorry, I'll stand corrected.
They're still under.
All right.
That's what I think I read, so I'm going to be double checking.
All right, well, check that out, and then you can probably.
I had to get on now to mention it.
All right, well, that's good. Well, thank you for that, because it wasn't really clear to me, and I might have jumped the horse a little bit there, but I hope it's retroactive, but it might not be. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for sharing that.
People on it. There's some people on it that are going to do something to try to do something, and I forget what it was. So yeah.
All right.
Anyways, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you
later.
for bringing us up to date on that. Thank you very much. All right, friends. I just always want to say this: the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow. JW World News comes on tomorrow at 3:00. Come back and join us for a Sunday edition. Okay, we're going to shut it down here. And we'll be back. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, the other platforms, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we'll have another broadcast here in about 2 minutes. Stay with us. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. All righty.